I mean.
And that was my understanding.
They didn't actually harvest the hay there, they brought the hay in.
And they set it down.
Right.
And that was the discussion was that the appraiser has to catch.
Right.
I don't think he even can catch. I think the way it reads, I think if a person wanted to make a big deal about it, there's a potential for fraud, but I think the Attorney General would have to look at each individual case.
And
I don't think the appraiser can question.
And all the power of appeal is in the side of the landowner. As I looked at what a lot of the states and other counties and what they're putting in minimum earning thresholds on per acreage, and then they're also looking lands that are actually annexed into the community aren't available for farmlands unless they can prove even a higher level of earning within those acreages. So I think that's where it's heading. But
yeah, we might be careful though, because.
well, we aren't. I mean, to be honest, this is just part of our agenda that we hope to bring forth.
No, I mean, I guess that to talk about things that are getting annexed. There are circumstances where we'll annex land and keep it as ag use.
And I think those are all the situations. Each one's going to be a little bit different because, you look at some of these where Miami-Dade County, which their agricultural land is pretty minimal, I think, compared to some, but then otherwise it'll compare a little bit differently. But I think adding it here just brings it a little bit more forward, and we'll start to see action take here.
And the same thing, I looked at other states, Texas as an example, and, around the Dallas area versus, rural San Antonio, DeWitt County as an example. They have thresholds or requirements that one has to meet, not just a round bale of hay, and they're gonna have so many cattle or what have you. And,
So it would be something like,
they have to meet those requirements.
request the, investigate means to permit verification of agricultural exemption.
I think that's a pretty fair way to do it. I don't know exactly, and I'm not
By
exactly
the-
sure how it's defined right now, what the defined terms
How
are.
about something like open?
By the appraiser.
Because you're county by
So it would
ordinance.
be,
How about make
Collector
leases
tax.
available as an open record? That would solve a lot of problems. I mean, people could look out their window and see if there's no hay on the field, and then question, the appraiser to see that lease.
I think you might be able to, it'd be better, likely to modify statutes that would permit
Agricultural designation.
challenge
By the appraiser.
of agricultural designation by the appraiser.
We want to add that.
Is that,
Is that an
I
addition?
think you might want to massage it a little bit and figure out.
Works with it.
well, yeah, I mean,
Maybe
that's
find
kind
out
of-
what the league would say about it.
Yeah.
If they could, certainly I would hope they would.
they may have language that's already written.
Where does that already exist or similar to?
Where's the
It's not
ag
yours.
page, that's what they added.
You go to the last page, is
That's a
commercial
different-
property evaluation.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, that's the,
Commercial property.
Well, that's what came out of last year's discussion
Right.
about what you're talking about.
No, I don't think so. This is a different issue.
I think actually,
Let me look, maybe perhaps.
This is about not
Yeah,
having to go through.
2012 last year. Hold on. Let's see if we got it right.
And it's not one of the leagues, it's not part of the league.
Now, this is word for word what you asked for last year regarding, it all started with this ag appraisal stuff, but this is how it ended when you were done with 2012 and said this is our final. So, it's number 15 from last year's.
Because this talks about commercial property.
It does.
It doesn't even have anything to do with agricultural. And then,
maybe we just need to.
Maybe you just need to
I think we need to
reword it a little,
state
because that's what came out of it.
agricultural appraisals.
Huh.
I think we need to clearly define that really, we want to look at agriculture.
Well,
this is a totally different thing. This basically says that rather than having to go through a hearing, the commercial property owner can just make the presentation to the appraiser directly. It sounds like that's what it says to me.
Okay, that would be,
But that's commercial property.
right, now, adding,
right.
I think you asked about the league, or the league here, so adding the agricultural designation property, it's not part of the league, it's for the county. So you were asking.
Right, so I guess we're gonna have to internally work something.
We won't have one to bounce off of.
No.
This is a great leadership opportunity, huh?
You only interested in ag though? What if you did wanna challenge something else? Would
Yeah, I
you
think
rather
it
just
should be
broaden this one a little
broader,
bit?
yeah.
We should be able to challenge anything, I mean.
If you're gonna go there.
Yeah, but we can't verify, I mean, we don't know what goes on inside of the building. And it's the appraiser, this is the case where the appraiser actually supposed to either, I think he receives a document that says, here's what our building is providing us as far as income per square foot. And I think that's how it works, am I right about that? I think there's like what happens in a sale, where there's a sales validation questionnaire, there's another questionnaire that's sent to every commercial property owner that he has to declare what rent he's getting on the property that he's got listed as commercial, I think.
Yeah, you're.
And what this is saying is, if the appraiser disputes that number, that they can just meet and not have to go through a formal hearing, is how I read this.
Right.
Because those take a lot of time, and the appraiser is most likely, again, this is my opinion, gonna say, we don't have time to mess with it, it's whatever the owner says it is, and we're not gonna dispute it. That's how I read it, I don't know if that's correct or not. Yeah, I think it's totally not about agriculture.
No, the ag, that's not an ag designation. We talk about the other issue, regarding fixtures
That's
elsewhere.
Well, there's no property tax on equipment and machinery now anyway.
Yeah, but they're expanding it to fixtures.
And it's a big deal.
Big deal.
They're changing the definition.
Yeah, and, so it's not just machinery and equipment, they're actually changing the definition. So essentially what would happen is that shift of burden would move from a commercial to a residential. I'm assuming you want to keep it revenue neutral, the shift would then move to residential. And it's a big shift.
Really?
Much bigger than
10 to 15%.
Paul Welcome is putting together
He already did.
Did he?
I
Okay.
went to it. He presented it to Eastern Kansas GFOA, and the burden shift is 10 to 15% to residents.
What does that mean?
It means if the current language that was died in committee last year was a redefinition of what is considered property, taxable property, and trade fixtures. So anything having to do with the conducting of a business is a trade fixture, and they're considering exempting that portion, which no one can really define how much that is, because there's no specific history on how much of it is a trade fixture as opposed to real property, because they're redefining it. And it could be, as Paul Welcome came up with a formula that he would argue could be as much as a 60% exemption of the value of current commercial property under this redefinition, which means that the burden shifting from commercial
So
exemption.
assuming you need to
residential.
provide the same amount of services,
Yeah.
your revenue shift is now jumping from that commercial base over to the residential.
We're just trying to figure is that shelving and warehouses? Is that like an
Everything.
Anything in production, right?
Well, as a matter of fact, Paul Welcome is saying it could be anything like your HVAC and your
mean,
plumbing
that's-
So
and
it's a shell, now it's just the shell
the
that you're
footings,
making.
the wall.
Like a
the-
reception hall for a
So like your
a
gas
wedding or
pump.
something.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, nothing within is,
So it's like a 10 to 15% shift to the individual,
So that would have the effect of raising residential taxes by
10 to 15%, in order to retain the same
in order
amount
to
of
keep it.
money
revenue.
on
And
that.
and again, that's not saying that's exactly what would happen. There could be more, could be less.
Right.
They don't really know.
Because subject to interpretation, because no one's tried to interpret it
There,
yet.
and the driver of this is a